Okay, we're live on Facebook. Let me minimize this. Go ahead and do a backup recording on the mixer.
We have belts and suspenders. We did a podcast one time that didn't record the other guy.
Oh, no.
Got to the end, and it was like...
That's on me, guys. That's on me. All right, we're ready?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to fade in. We're going to get you going. Let me turn up Bluetooth a little bit. All right. Okay. All right. 5, 4, 3...
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the podcast, Recovery Lab podcast series. If I'm not mistaken, this is episode 20?
No, this is 18. 18, right?
20 sounds better.
You're almost there.
All right,
Fair enough.
episode number 18 then. We'll go with that.
All right, sounds good.
I'm
18
Drew
or 19?
Hassan. This is...
Daniel Anderson.
So the general introductory spiel is the same. We absolutely need everybody's support, both financial, emotional. If you've got, you can support us the following ways: by commenting on however you're watching this, if it's on Facebook or TikTok. I assume people comment on TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a little bit.
And try to offer up things that might be of some benefit to somebody in recovery. The two examples that I always give are that you can get free Narcan at the Pines in Columbus or at Mr. Moore's Bike Shop in Hattiesburg. Mm-hmm. Everybody in Hattiesburg knows Mr. Moore's Bike Shop. But if you have something that would be equally beneficial to somebody in recovery, please post that. Let everybody know. Also, if you want to support us financially, we could certainly use it. We have a new Patreon account. You can go to Patreon and then search over to Recovery Lab Podcast, and there's a way you can subscribe. We would certainly appreciate that.
Or there's also a link on the Recovery Lab Facebook for the Patreon.
There we go. We have a website, recoverylabllc.com. We have a new Cash App. Daniel and I finally did open up a bank account for Recovery Lab. I talked about it from literally the first episode, so it only took 4 months.
Hey, progress.
Yeah.
And those are Recovery Lab. So Venmo and Cash App, just Recovery Lab. That's it.
There we go. We could certainly use everybody's help to pay for the cool equipment we have. It certainly sounds better than when we first started. We have cameras, and we have these awesome LED lights
on the way.
Really add ambiance.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, vibes, bro.
They're vibey.
Vibes.
All right, I think that's it.
One more. Just want to bring attention to Seek Christian Therapeutic Intensives. They are now accepting applications for the summer 2023 at Tanglewood in Lawrence, Mississippi. Seek Christian Therapeutic Intensives were created for teenagers ages 13 to 17 who have experienced a major life stressor, i.e. adverse childhood experience, divorce, death, bullying, etc. We want to help your child be who God created them to be, the best version of themselves in mind, body, and spirit. So you can check them out on their Facebook page. SEK Christian Therapeutic Intensives is the Facebook. You can also check them out at sekintensives.com. Thank you so much.
Well, all right. I think that's it for the introductory spiel. Also, lastly, I would be remiss not to add, we do still have some awesome hoodies for sale.
Yeah.
Blake loved his.
Yeah.
As he should have.
He loved it.
A handsome hoodie.
Yeah, they're great.
Very handsome, warm.
Almost, I would say, probably the best hoodies that have ever been
Best
made.
hoodie I've ever had.
Yeah, definitely.
Best hoodie I've ever had. Well, look, without further ado, Chris and Ginger Wartes, thank y'all so much. I really, seriously, I know we've been sitting here chatting, but I can't thank you enough for giving of your time to come here, do this.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
There are plenty of parents out there who can benefit from what y'all have to offer. You know, one of the mandate for people in recovery is to help the next man, and it's a two-pronged benefit. So one, you get to turn your shenanigans into something profitable, and the other benefit is it helps somebody else, because what was so freely given to us should be freely given to others. So y'all are the parents of somebody that is in recovery, and I know that, you know, I know the hell that I put my parents through.
Likewise.
What would y'all like for parents to know out there that may have a loved one that's still suffering in active addiction?
Well, there's hope. Obviously, there was plenty of days where I
If
didn't
you
feel,
were
I
a
didn't-
little closer
I
to
didn't
that mic.
feel like there was hope, but there is. So
How
That's-
long were you guys struggling with the addiction with Lake? Like from the point where you realized,
okay,
we have a problem.
right. Of course, he dabbled in it in high school. Like I think I remember getting the phone call from his Jackson Prep that he had failed a test for Adderall or whatever. At the time, he wasn't taking anything, and I just can remember calling him and being like, what's this about? Like what? And of course, it's like, Mom, I was prescribed it before, and I mean, I don't have any right now. I had a test, and I kind of fell for it. I kind of believed him.
You want to?
Yes, I did. And then, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking,
something's just
yeah,
not
just that
right.
mama in me. I think I
Right,
knew
right.
little. This, you know. And then it wasn't long. After that, I get a call again from Jackson Prep that he had failed it again. So, and then after that, I think the principal calls me that he got caught vaping and that got sent home. And I think at that point, it just seemed like everything was just starting to spiral. And he had a horrible senior year, and spring break the week before, his school counselor, who he loved, absolutely loved, he loved Lake, but he called us and just said, hey, Lake's failing several courses, and it may be something where he needs to withdraw and finish up at the Ed Center. And of course, that broke my heart. I mean, he
Right.
had been at Jackson Prep since ninth grade, and the thought of him us paying for that education and then him ended up having to finish at the Ed Center was just, and it was embarrassing for him. I mean, he was embarrassed and devastated. But that's kind of
So
was
would you
kind of
say
the beginning of
you
some
mentioned, like,
hard.
3 to 4 years ish?
Yes.
Basically, y'all been dealing with this on a
Yes.
regular basis.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much his senior year was kind of the start of the hard times, and then
How did that impact y'all's relationship?
Yes.
yeah. As far as mine and ours and Lake's, or
Y'all's,
us?
right.
Okay, so yeah,
And it's completely okay to be 100% vulnerable and open right now, because
Yeah.
what you're going to say is going to help that person that's listening right now
Right.
that is struggling with this exact thing.
But
And they-
only if you're closer to that microphone.
No, I'm not good at this, am I? I keep,
No,
keep wanting to
you're-
push it away.
You're fine.
I
You're
know. I
fine.
keep wanting to nudge it over a little bit.
Right. No, it was very trying and hard, I think, for our marriage. Chris, I think if I look back and if I would have pulled myself out of all that and let him take over and handle it, I don't know. I mean, we may not have been in such a severe situation. I don't know. I always think about that because I am a very terrible disciplinary parent. Even with our daughters, I'm like, oh, don't spank them, or I'm just not good at it. And I think I tried to protect Lake sometimes, and maybe wasn't even honest a lot of times with to Chris about what was going on, because I didn't want to deal with it or talk about it, or for him to punish him almost. But it did. It caused a lot of tension for us in our marriage for a while. Wouldn't you say? I mean,
Well, yeah. So on that note, I would say when I would find out something later, it would make me even more
irritated.
because I was like, how long have you known about this?
Right.
Why didn't you tell me so I could help you?
Well, I
with the
didn't want to hurt your
situation?
I didn't want to.
Yeah. And so I think a little more transparency between us would have been maybe more beneficial at the time.
And a lot of me not telling you things was like just like speaking it in existence.
It makes it
like,
real.
Oh,
I was sitting there thinking it makes it real for you.
Yes,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
didn't. I tried to just pretend we weren't dealing with this, and that I could get Lake with the right counselor, or I reached out to so many people and be like, hey, Lake just needs a mentor, just somebody to. I mean, so many people. I tried so hard to just put that person in Lake's life that I thought was missing, that he needed. And none of those things worked. So Lake went to he did finish up at the Ed Center. And I somehow made the decision he wanted to go to Mississippi State. Another decision I wish I would have let him make, because he didn't think it was the right thing for Lake. But we let him go on to Mississippi State. And that's when the wheels fell off. I think the first few weeks, we had him on Life 360, and he had some 8 a.m. classes, and we would see that on our Life, like, Lake's at class, and we'd be like high-fiving and fist-bumping, like, yes, he got it, win. We were just so proud. And I think Lake shared with y'all that he was like totally just pulling up to his building and sitting in his car, like making his beats, like
Making
he was
beats on his laptop.
he wasn't even going to class. And so I think we got an email that he had like zero attendance in any of his classes at like 8-9 weeks in. And so we bring him home. I mean, obviously, like into a month and a half, and we're like, all right, buddy, kind of come home. And he didn't even fight us, really. I mean, it's like he kind of was like, I need help, is what I think he kind of knew he had gotten in over his head, and he needed some help.
Even in active addiction, I mean, we can see the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Yes. But at the same time, he didn't want to get the help he needed, because he
saw the writing on the wall, but he wasn't like at the point where he said, I got to do something.
Right.
No,
But he saw it.
that's right.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Right. And one of the counselors that he was with was at First Baptist Jackson, the church, at this time. But I just remember like seeing, like, he couldn't even get up to go to work. Like, he was literally, and he was just wasting away. Like he was so skinny, and just, he was miserable, and you could just see it. And so this counselor, I was like, he's on drugs, and I've never done this before. Never ever imagined that I'd be living this life, but I don't know where to go or who can help us. Like, I had no idea. And I just remember he gave me Ruth Ann Rigby, her contact, and she was just a complete saving grace for us. I mean, she came like that day, met me and Chris and my parents. My parents are hugely involved with Lake. They love him like like he's their own. But she met us at Corner Bakery, and we talked about the things, a plan for him, and we ended up doing the Dr. Flowers Institute in Houston, which was a complete waste of a lot of money, a lot of money. But
Well, I would stop you. I would stop you there. I would encourage you to yes, it's a tremendous amount of money on paper, but those experiences that he learned there,
Right.
though he did not get sober at that point, the seeds that were planted along the way,
Right.
if anything would have changed, similar like what we'll talk about when during that day. But if anything would have
Yes,
changed,
you're right.
it wouldn't be so.
right.
That was money well spent.
yeah.
That was
And
money
I guess
well
I
spent.
feel like, for me, I just wished at that point I would have went ahead and listened to Ruth Ann about just going on and putting him in a treatment center. Like, because this was somewhere where I had just had a baby, and I left my baby at home and flew with him to Houston, and we lived in a hotel for a whole week, just letting them run tests, like, psychiatrists run all these tests on him, and at the end of that week, they said, we don't think your son's an addict, but he's on his way.
Right.
We suggest a 30-day treatment. And he, boo-hooed like a baby, broke my heart, and just begged, I just want to go home. Just take me home. And I was like, okay, I want to take you home, but this is what we're going to do. You're going to start getting up. You're going to exercise. You're going to do, I was like laying
Sure,
it all out. Like,
sure.
we're making changes. And that was in November of 2019 is when we went to that. And it wasn't until March of 2020 that we said, okay, he's got to go somewhere. He needs way more help than what we can do for him here.
Right.
And again, that's when Ruth Ann stepped in again for us. Was amazing, and set up the whole thing. And as a mom, I was a complete wreck, obviously.
What are y'all doing at this point in your life to maintain your sanity, how are you?
At this point, we're talking about right
Yeah,
now.
at this
right?
point, yeah. What are you doing to take care of you? How are you plugging along, getting through day to day?
Or are you just white knuckling it and not taking care of any of the
a
needs?
lot
you
of
need
white
to-
knuckling.
Well,
for
honestly,
sure,
like
but-
I will say, like at 40 years old, a huge surprise was I found out I was pregnant. And I honestly now it makes total sense because without her, I say all the time I would have withered away in my bed because my other 3 daughters are at the age they didn't need mama. You know,
Right.
they're a little more independent, and the baby needed me. Like it forced me to get up out of bed. It forced me to, you know, it was just a love at that point that I needed. And she was, it's just, that's, I mean, honestly, I think Poppy's her name, and she has been just my saving grace. I mean, through that because,
Well, one thing I would add, obviously, Poppy was a complete surprise, but blessing.
I can completely understand surprises later in life.
Yes.
I've got one myself.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Poppy's
Who
gonna watch
turns
this.
3 tomorrow?
Oh,
We had his birthday
yeah.
party today.
Yay.
So we had Poppy that was a huge surprise / huge blessing. So that, like Ginger said, that got her out of the bed. Somebody that needed her or us, and so that was a huge help. But I would say also for us, I mean, and this we've talked to Lake about this. We have a huge family support group.
Huge.
Like we have like she said, her parents are really, really close to Lake, and I mean, just everybody in our family is just close knit, and you could pick up the phone and ask any of them for anything, and they would do it. And so, you had to cry on somebody's shoulder. A lot of people don't have that, and even in the addiction world, I think that there's a lot of kids out there that don't have families that are willing to do anything or
Right.
care what's going on in some capacity. But I think for us, like to keep our sanity at that point, we were all meeting in the living room going, what do we do, y'all? And then, just brainstorming with everybody in the family. And so we had to lean on each other a lot during that time to just wake up the next day and go, all right, one foot in front of the other. Because we knew, he was kind of going off the cliff.
Right.
And it was hard because we didn't have much control. We were like, golly, like we want to help. Ginger said this before. She's a fixer. We're doing exercise and you're going to go to the gym with this guy and work out, and you're going to,
50 burpees every morning.
yeah, you're going to sleep 8.6 hours a day and all, and so she's trying to like lay out this program that fixes it all.
12,000 steps.
Yeah. And
Drink plenty of water.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And none of it was working at all. And it was like we just kept like going in circles, like, oh gosh, here we are again. So anyway, family support, huge.
I just remember though, like as far as that first time he went to treatment, I think he had been at my parents' house spending the night, and I remember I was already in the bed, and Chris comes in there like midnight and just says, "Hey, your dad just called me, and Lake just came home to their house, and he will not take a drug test for your dad. He wants me to come over there and drug test Lake." And so Chris left to go, and I think Lake took it and failed the drug test. So the next morning, I called Ruth Ann Rigby that next morning and said, "Okay, can you come support us? We're telling him we're flying out today. We're going to Spearhead in Austin, Texas." And I can just remember at first.
Is Spearhead a treatment center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's where he went that first time. But I can just remember, like at first, he was just so mad. Like we were all there, and he was, talking to us just horribly. Which another thing I would say about Lake is he has always been like an angel child. I mean, like never disrespected me, loved me. I mean, like, so whenever the drug use happened and he completely changed and would say the most hurtful thing, I just knew it wasn't him. It was obviously the drugs, because he was pretty harsh a lot. But anyway, I just had a heart to heart, and I was just like talking to him so calm, and just said, "Hey, like I will fly out with you. I will take you, but you've got to get help." And it's almost like he just surrendered. I don't know if he just knew I just got to do this to please my parent and my family, or if he knew I got to get help. but we flew out that day. We didn't waste any time. I was like, I got to take him right now, because if we sleep on it, he has time to either run away, which he had done before. He'd skipped town before. So we left that day, and he was there for 90 days. And and it was during the COVID. So we couldn't even go see him on family weekends,
Right.
which I think that was another way of God kind of protecting us, because I'm pretty sure if I'd have gone, he would have probably begged to come home, and I don't know if I was.
Oh, he would have.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'd have been strong enough to
wouldn't have.
leave him. I was so weak. When it came to him. My heart was just in a million pieces. I just wanted him to be well and be Lake again.
My dad's listening in Dallas. He said he can't hear you two very well. I've got you
Okay,
turned up as
yeah.
high as we can
Okay,
go.
so
So
sit up a little more.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Just get as close to that mic as possible.
Okay. I don't want to hit my lip.
I mean, you can get like
Yeah,
right-
really on it.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
I can hear you better now. Can you
okay.
hear me?
Yeah, I've been able to hear you fine.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, the whole COVID thing was another way of God completely. I feel like protecting me through that, and Lake, because I would have probably brought him home, and he didn't need to be home. But once we did get him after 90 days, we thought everything was good. He seemed good, which later, now he admits, look, when I came home, I had no intention of staying sober. Like, I was too young. I wasn't ready. And
Sure.
like, he admits that. But we thought we were doing all the right things. We were like, okay, he moved into Linwood home in Jackson, like a sober living house.
Right.
He was at the Bridge to Recovery, getting in those meetings and therapy. Like I said, again, I thought I had it all figured out for him, the best plan I knew I could give him.
Well, there's no instruction manual for dealing with this. So
That's right.
anytime where you if you get in that negative, reflection of, oh, I wish I would have,
Right.
just forgive yourself.
Right.
You did everything that you possibly knew how to do.
Right.
So
And it did take me a long time to get to that. Like, I did blame myself for so
Sure,
long. Like, what
sure.
did I shouldn't have pulled him out of this school to put him at prep. I should. And Lake's like, Mom, like, I would have figured it out no matter
Right.
what. This is, don't blame yourself. But,
I think that's a good message for other parents listening, since we're kind
Right.
of talking about that. Is we were talking about this earlier. We just weren't in control.
right.
Like, we loved him as much as we could. We prayed all the time. We were pulling out all the stops, doing everything that we thought was the right thing to do. But never, ever did we stop just like supporting him in any way. It didn't matter. We were going to do whatever we had to do.
Right.
And so I think for other parents listening out there that maybe blame themselves, Ginger blamed herself a lot. And of course, as Lake has said many times, he was, y'all referenced this when he was here. He was a master manipulator.
Oh yeah,
A master.
Yeah.
Well, we all are.
Yeah,
Right.
we're
That's the
very good at what you do.
yeah.
For sure.
And so, like, he was like the magician, though. Like, we thought we had something nailed down, and then he was, I think y'all were talking about the movie Catch Me If You Can or something like that.
Yeah.
That was him. He was like, he was a step ahead almost every single time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would obviously just straight up lie to us about things.
Yeah, we had no problem lying
Yeah.
in the grips of addiction. That's
right.
I mean, we'd feel a little bad about it, but
Not really.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we didn't understand that at the time. We do now. Like, we look back now and we go, I mean, that was a strong,
Con.
like, it had a grip on him, and he couldn't, he was like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to lie so I can go over here and get high.
right.
And we didn't understand that mentality. We're like, well, he's telling us the
The
truth.
allegiance to the subject is a higher allegiance than I think people give it credit for.
Yeah.
Like, you really will do anything to protect that, either your access to it,
Yep.
your ability to obtain it.
And for somebody who's not an addict or alcoholic, I mean, it's hard to wrap your head around how someone that you love, that you raised,
Right.
could just lie to your face
It was
time and time again.
gut-wrenching,
Like,
yes.
that's like, it's the worst slap in the face. But
horrible.
we're just, that's what we do,
Yeah.
Look, I have learned that parenting is emotional warfare because,
You're right.
like, so I have 3 older kids and I got the baby, and I will say something, to discipline one of the older 3, And then invariably one of them has some defense that they offer up. And I wonder to myself, okay, am I being too harsh? You know, should this just be live and let live? And then, you know, I know how manipulative I was as a child. I can only imagine
Right.
how undermining it is to your own, you know, the way we validate ourselves. Like, I'm not crazy. How did you find a way to confront those feelings of feeling undermined by the interactions with a sick child?
And also, did you, yeah? Well, let's answer that first. I got another question after that.
I don't know, like how. Look, I'll be honest. Like I was so numb. I feel like for so much of this, I mean, completely numb.
Just trying to disassociate from
I
it.
really yes.
There was a lot of that.
And you know, you just. I mean, I just remember just like, gosh, like how are we here? Like how did we get here? You know, like, Lake's biological father is an addict, and then my mom's brother and sister were addicts, and I can just remember from the time.
Who was it? Your mom's brother
and
so
her-
your aunt and uncle.
My aunt and uncle,
Okay.
yes, were both addicts. And so I just can remember from the time Lake could talk, we would talk about it and I'd be like, baby, it's in your veins. Like, don't touch it. Just don't
Right.
touch it. And sometimes I'm thinking, should I have said that? Because Lake's personality, he runs off, he's curious. So I think a lot of it, what I felt like was he just that curious to see what it, you know, I don't know. But I just remember telling him, don't touch it. Because, I mean, drugs is one thing that I never touched. And I think it's just because I had seen what it did to my family, you know, what it can do. And I didn't want any part of it. It terrified me. But we were there. I mean, we were here. And I was definitely just numb. And, of course, I had a baby, newborn, while he was at treatment. Those 90 days, I can just remember taking her out, strolling, and just with my worship music and just praying, you know, like I was already claiming the victory. Like, God, you've already won. Like, you know, I was trying to just be just so positive and know that, like I said before, I had ventured off when I got pregnant with him at 20. I was kind of wild and partying and living a life I knew better then. And my mom has always said, you know, God did not give Lake to you to save your life for the devil to have Lake and take Lake. And so that right there was another way that kept me going and kept my faith. And I would just say that too, over and over and over. All right, God, I know you have him. You love him more than I do. You know, you tell us that. So I have to trust that you are going to pull him out of the pits that he was in.
It's difficult. Even, I mean, I know for an alcoholic, but you know, a lot of times when we're dealing with stuff also, and it has to be the same with someone who's, you know, normal, you know, to make that, to have that thought, those thoughts, and say, okay, I'm going to trust God 100%. I know he's in charge. I know I have no control over this, is one thing, but to actually live your life throughout the rest, you know, the following 23 hours and 59 minutes of the day,
Yep.
to actually implement that and really
That's
take a
right.
step back and trust and have faith is so incredibly difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine how difficult it would be for a parent who is watching their son go down this death spiral, literal death spiral,
Literal.
and have to, I mean, I can only imagine that just really would grow your faith. If you go that route, that your
Right.
faith in God would be unbelievable at that moment. And my question also is this: when you guys, when you were taking your walks and talking to God and praying and trusting him, were you guys as a team, you and Chris, were you guys able to kind of come together a little bit and say, we're going to fight this together? Or was there still this, well, I don't know how he feels about this. Were you guys able to come together on a solid front together and be able to help him, or was it still kind of, I'm doing this, he's doing this, yada yada yada?
I mean, I think we came together at that point. I mean, I feel like Chris had to be, I guess, my rock.
Sure.
I mean, he was the one that was kind of strong. much stronger than me. I mean, because I sit there and I tell you that like I had the faith or whatever, but I'd also be lying if I told you I did not sleep a wink at night out of worry and fear.
Sure.
So, it's not that I was like, okay, God, I know you have him. You're going to save him and I'm going to sleep and I'm good. But because I was a mess
Sure.
for so long, with so much anxiety and worry and fear. And so Chris he would say positive things like, he's going to beat this. We're going to get through this, and then hearing those things would help me.
Right.
I needed to hear those things.
That begs the question, did you believe those things when you said those to her? And was it difficult for you to stay strong through those times?
Definitely difficult to stay strong because there's a fear of the unknown. Like,
sure,
you're like, how are we even walking through this period? But like crazy things were happening, and we were like, so you obviously there's questions all the time. Lake is he's such a good-hearted person. That was no way that like this was going to be his story,
right?
Like there's no way he's not going to come out on the other side of this. And so I think, he's just a good kid, so caring, so loving. He's he wants to help people all the time. And so I guess in the back of my head, I always thought, man, if he comes out on the other side of this, he's going to be a strong, strong advocate to help a lot of other people,
right?
Which is exactly what he's doing right now.
Right.
And so, I definitely a lot of praying, a lot of leaning on God because we weren't in control. We were talking about this earlier. I mean, we wanted him to be sober and healthy so bad. But all we really could do was have faith that God was going to steer the ship because we technically didn't have any control.
Right.
But yeah, so
but it did seem like, after he got back from that treatment and he still was just running from God, running. And then Chris would be a little negative. He would get angry, and then it would cause us to fight because I can just remember saying, I don't need to hear you say that. Like, I don't want to hear negative. Like, I need to hear you say he's,
everything's going to be fine.
Right.
Yes. Right. And there were plenty of times where, because he went through that, dyeing his hair different colors and his wardrobe is crazy. And, it's just like, we were like, where's my handsome boy? Like,
right.
Who are you? Everything was so crazy for so long. It just wasn't him. I just like, that is not who we've raised. That's not my son. And, but when he came home, like I said, when he ended up getting kicked out of the Bridge to Recovery
right.
for Kratom. She said,
I too was kicked out of Bridge to Recovery once, so he's in good company.
Well, and so when she called us in, I remember texting him like, Lake, have you done something? She wants to meet with us, and he's like, no, ma'am, I haven't done anything.
They didn't want to talk to you to tell you what a great job he's doing.
That's right. That's right. And so we sit down, and she comes in, and she's pretty rough. She was not compassionate towards him or to us at all. She was, you failed for this. Why did you tell me you know? And he's like, what? I just bought a little, he was telling us it was like a little energy drink that must have had it in it. Okay. Like he was like acting like he didn't even know he was taking Kratom, but
lies.
It was lies. Now I know that, but at the time I believe, or I wanted to believe him. I faked it. I faked believing it, that he was telling me the truth. I really did. I think in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh great. Like, here we go. He's doing Kratom and something obviously that he can buy in a gas station, which is crazy.
Every gas station.
It is crazy. It's one of my biggest things too that I would like. I keep pushing, like, why are we selling this to these kids in these gas stations? And the U-Pass, like Lake was passing. We were paying $300 a month just for him to get drug tested at Linwood House, for him to fake every bit of those drug tests for so long. Like, he was just buying. He was buying the U-Pass and faking his test. And I'm just like, why are this even legal? How is this stuff legal?
Right.
So anyway,
where there's a buck to be made, people will exploit it.
For sure. But that's another thing for parents, like, just to be aware of how easy it is for our teens to walk in a gas station and get a drug, because Kratom, it is a drug. It's 100%. My son got kicked out of treatment for Kratom, so it is a drug that should not be being sold. But anyway, at that point, Linwood let him stay, because she said right then, like, he needs to go back to Spearhead right now. Like, he's like, put him on a plane, and he is again begging us. And he's chewing her out like, this is such a racket. I didn't, he's just angry. And we didn't send him back to recovery at that point. We let him just stay at Linwood, sober living environment. They were testing him.
I'm surprised they let him stay at Linwood.
Well, are you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was scared he was going to get kicked out. I think I remember texting either the house manager or Alex Cole, who Alex is also later on a huge help to us.
He's a good dude.
He is a very good dude. Love him. He was great. Lake loves him. That was also a positive that Lake was able to talk to someone that. But anyway, he was passing those drug tests, but all along. But it was just faking them while he was there. But he begged us to come home after 5 or 6 months of living there, and we let him move back home.
Yeah, I think when he wanted to move back home, I think he actually got me on the phone one day, and this is where his manipulation was really strong. He was like, basically saying, "I don't belong with these people."
Yeah,
Right.
Like I've crossed over into another realm where these guys really need this place, and I don't. I'm past all that now, and so I just want to come home and be. And I think there was some truth in what he was saying at the time. I just want this normalcy. I just want this normal, life. I want to go to work or go to school or whatever, and like just get back on track. And I think in the back of his head, maybe he believed some of that, but a lot of that was just like, hey, I got to get away from all these drug tests, and
Right.
I need some freedom.
Get the monkey off our back.
Yeah, and
what was that first night like, if you can recall? What was that first night back when he was living? Was there a relief? Was there
No. I mean,
at home. You mean?
Right.
I did better when he wasn't under my roof, because I think when he wasn't under my roof,
Out of sight, out of mind.
yes,
a little bit. Yeah.
yes, it's the craziest thing. But I feel like I didn't have to like worry so much. If he's under in my roof, I'm crazy person. Like I won't like if he's in the bathroom too long. I mean, even to this day, I have PTSD about the bathroom if he's in there too long.
Right.
It's just I think I always will. But I feel like it made me crazy.
So you would say it was,
Yeah, and
if there's a way, maybe if somebody is in that limbo state that Lake was in, maybe it's best for them not to come home until there's a
Right.
firm plan of action.
Absolutely.
And obviously all cases are different. And but
Yeah.
in your experience,
Right.
it would have eased things a little bit had he not come home.
That's right. Yes. And I think for us too, we wanted normalcy. Like he had 3 sisters at home. Well, the baby, we had like 4 sisters at home, but the 3, like it affected them. They
Sure,
loved their brother and they missed their brother. And so we were like, we want him back home so they can be around him and they
Sure.
can have a relationship with him. They missed him. And so it was good, but it made my worry just go, whoop. And so, like I said, he's really close to my parents and he stayed there with them a lot. Which again, Chris was like, he needs to come home. And I didn't want him to come home because my worry, I'd rather him be at my mom's, but then it got too much on my parents. I think I felt bad. They were having to worry, and
Right.
they didn't need that either.
Well, he told that story about staying at his grandparents' house, and I remembered when I would stay at my grandmother's house because there was virtually no oversight.
Yeah.
But I didn't know they were employing the drug test. Granny and Grandpa, the hammer,
Yeah.
coming in.
Oh yeah, for sure. I say all the time, like my dad and Chris were 100% the rocks for me and my mom. I mean, this absolutely shattered my parents too. We lived with them with Lake till we got married when Lake was 2.5 years old. So and then after we got married, I started a business and went to work. Well, my mom basically would keep keep him. I mean, they're
close.
so close. And I love that. I love they have that relationship. I'm so blessed. He to this day, Lake wears a necklace that my mom gave him. That's something she always used to tell him. I mean, they're just so close. But they didn't need to go through that either. I mean,
Right.
So.
But again, we didn't have that the handbook.
That's right. And I don't know what I would have done any different. Really, I mean, it was hard because we had 4 other kids at home. You
Right.
know, and I mean, everything was just so hard.
Do you think it was difficult for the other children at the home? And can you put yourself in their shoes to be watching their brother really struggle and watching their parents really struggle over them, do you think that did you get the feeling as though there was any jealousy or any that maybe Lake was getting more attention than them, or were your kids kind of level-headed about, look, he's in need right now and mom and dad are helping this guy
Yeah, I
out?
think, I mean, honestly, I think they were. I think they were just as worried for him as you know, as we are, as like sisters could be for their brother. They were worried. The 12-year-old who's almost 13, she probably struggled with that the most, but her little world had been rocked because we had this baby, and she always had been the baby, and so she just got kicked out of her bed because now the baby's in the bed, and then her brother's gone. I mean, her little world was rocked for sure, but it wasn't a jealousy thing. I think it was just her age and kind of feeling like, where's my mom? Like, who's this baby's around now, and now my mom's attention is with my brother, and but the twins, they were worried and devastated, and
how old are they?
they're 17.
17.
Mm-hmm.
You live with two 17-year-old girls,
I'll tell you, our house is
a 12-year-old girl,
Keep going.
a 3-year-old girl, and a 21-year-old girl.
She's about to be 22, but
Happy birthday, by the way.
yeah, I come home. I joke with Lake now. I say, you have abandoned me. You are over in Atlanta, and I'm at home with all these women.
Right.
So I work a lot. To provide for them.
Of course.
But yeah, it's
Man,
tough at my house.
I have one daughter, and I get to say to her, you're my favorite daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, good gosh.
Yeah.
Well, look, I've heard you mention something that I'm such a big fan of that I don't want to gloss over, and that's worship music. So I went to a faith-based treatment center. I'd never heard a single word. I didn't even know, like, I'm Catholic, and this whole idea that Protestant mass could be based, right? I mean, like a lot of people go to church and they listen to music,
right?
And then somebody talks for a long time, and then they have their begathon, and then, the whole thing is geared around listening to worship music.
Yeah.
I find worship music to be exceptionally beneficial in my life.
Oh, it's huge for me. That is, that's all if I even go for a run, it's what I'm listening to. It's like it's just the way I pray and talk to God. And that's really all I did that first time he was at treatment. Just my, headphones on. And
so approaching this like you would going to talk to an attorney for the first time, and they give you some plan of action. For the parents that are out there, number one, would you tell them to listen to worship music?
Absolutely.
Pray.
Absolutely.
Pray.
That's right.
I can sense from talking to y'all that you suffer from this maybe more than he does, this searching for where I went wrong, what I could have done differently. I can tell you, as somebody in recovery who's had a lifelong problem with addiction, there's no thing that my parents did or didn't do that caused it, that made it worse. I had an exceptional childhood.
Likewise.
I never knew abuse or neglect. You could set your watch by the time my father came home at night. They weren't drug addicts or alcoholics. So I assure you,
right,
no drama in the
toiling
house.
over, if I had done, that is the enemy.
right.
And that's the devil robbing 100. You of, just thought I would throw that out there because I know 100%. I can sense you've struggled with this.
I've gotten better now, but for a long time, it was hard. Just not knowing. Because we pulled him out of Hartfield Academy, honestly, because he was brilliant, but he was not studying. Like literally, there was no studying, and so my thought was, we'll send him to Jackson Prep. Well, he'll be forced to study. Right. He'll have to pick up a book and study because Jackson Prep, you have to. But I'm like, why? That backfired on me. His senior year, couldn't even finish, and that killed me. I'm like, okay, God, where did I miss you through all that? How did I miss that door opening for him to go to Jackson Prep? Because I wanted to push him because he is so smart for him not to even be able to finish and graduate there, and it wasn't because he was not capable. Because, y'all talked to him. He is brilliant. He's such a smart kid. He just didn't want to study. He didn't want to pick up a book. I
feel like on that.
Yeah. So listen, we we have to get to this story. Now, I
Yeah.
don't want to focus on war stories or anything, but I want to talk about this story that Lake shared with us. You had mentioned that there were a couple other things that you wanted to add to that story, and I want you guys to walk us through that fateful day when he overdosed, from the beginning of the day when you woke up until the end of the night. Walk us through exactly what happened, and in your eyes, what God did or did not do to ensure that that moment happened that day.
I want to touch on this real quick because in July, the month he overdosed, my dad and Chris both got COVID. Chris was hospitalized for 10 days, basically, with COVID.
This was 2020 in the beginning?
Yeah, this is 21.
2021.
This is 21 when he overdosed July of 21. So in July, my dad, who's my rock, and Chris, who's my rock, are both have COVID. I go upstairs to Lake's room, Lake wasn't home, and I tell everybody I have no idea other than the Lord said, look under his mattress. I have no idea. It's just what he's plain as day. Something just said, go look under his mattress. So
And had you ever done that before?
Never. So I just pull up his mattress, and it was far back in the middle of his bed. I could see a little bottle, and I of course lose it. And I'm like, I cannot go tell Chris. He's sick with COVID, so sick.
Right.
So
What was in this bottle?
it was pills, and I remember
Pills.
calling Alex Cole, and he looked at them, and he even said, "I don't even know what some of these are." Like, we got to, we were trying to figure out what they even were.
Right. It's safe to say that they were not good or prescribed to
Oh,
him.
absolutely,
Right.
yes, I knew. And with Lake's behavior that whole month,
Erratic, yeah.
it was weird. He was so strange, out of his mind. I mean, it was, and he'll tell you, he was like he was blacked out.
Yeah.
That whole month. And another thing, people will say, "Where was he living?" And I'm like, "In my house."
Right.
I mean, so it makes me feel like absolute crap.
Yeah,
But-
no. Don't.
But it was
don't
going
even
on in my
entertain.
house, and I'm like, he was living with me. I saw him every single day, every single night. But I couldn't tell Chris that I found those pills. I just remember calling Alex Cole and said, I need help. He said, okay, there's an interventionist, Carver Brown.
Carver's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
Has he?
Love partner. Yeah, he's awesome.
Okay. We'll come over, and talk with him. Let's try to get him to treatment. So
I was still at the house at this time.
he had gotten out of the hospital. He was home at this point.
Yeah.
And so just not in the meeting because we didn't want to expose Carver and
Sure.
Alex, but they ended up saying, just bring him out because Lake, I text him and he comes, I said, hey, can you come downstairs? So he comes downstairs not knowing they were there, and he was high.
Oh, I assure you.
He was
100%.
high.
Yeah.
And he sees them and he immediately knows what this is about. He knows Alex, and he's like, hold up. And he gets so defensive. He's like, I want an attorney. I have not. Yes. I'm like, how are you going to pay for this? But he
I've
is,
got constitutional rights.
yes, he is fighting us tooth and nail. Like, no way. Y'all are crazy. I have not relapsed. I'm not on drugs, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't get him to go. So even then they say, bring Chris out, and Chris comes out, and we just try to talk through it. Didn't work. So the next morning, I just remember Carver calling me, and he's like, hey, your son has in fact relapsed. It was evident last night. The only way to get him to treatment is basically you're going to probably have to get the law involved. And I just remember thinking, the law, like, how do you call the law on your child? Like, so then my prayer starts kind of switching to, okay, God, you got to give me something to make me strong enough to be willing to call the law. Like, something I can't do it. I'm too weak to call the law. My son, you got to do something. So July 24th, that Saturday morning, Lake comes home, and he loves his baby sister, and he bends down to pick her up, to, hold her. And when he does, I won't say what, but something fell out of his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I took my foot and I slid it. He never even knew. I just kind of slid it over. And he leaves. And Chris was at work, and at this point, I call him, and I'm like, okay, today's the day. We got to call the law. Like, at that point, I knew if we didn't call the law, he was either going to kill himself or somebody else.
Right.
He didn't even need to be driving that day. And I just remember calling him like, hey, buddy, you don't need to even be driving. He's like, you're a psycho. I'm
Right.
good.
Of course you're psycho.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
I've just seen it juxtaposed.
Yes.
Yeah.
You versus your baby sister. And
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that paints quite a picture,
Yes.
doesn't it?
And I was watching him, and he was looking all through his car. He knew he had lost it. Like, he
Right.
knew. He's just trying to figure out where it went, but I had slid it. I had it. So, do you want to take over that at that point, leading to throughout that day?
Yeah, and I'll preface this by saying I'm not good at timelines, so I might get a little out of order. But yeah, I just remember Ginger called me and she was like, "It's like full on, like it's bad. We got to do something." And so Ginger's dad, unfortunately, through a lot of this process, through some years, I've had to, call him and be like, "Hey, listen, I need some help." Again, leaning on family to, hey, we got to figure this out. Let's brainstorm. And so, I think maybe her dad, Mr. Terry, and we talked, and I just said, I don't know what else to do. I think getting the law involved somehow, and
were you still recovering from COVID at this point, or were you?
He was back at work that day. Like he
Okay.
was trying to get back. It was
Just
only
getting
like
past it.
it was only like 3 or 4 days later. But yes, he was just over 10 days of the hospital. And
Right.
yeah, and so and that ties in a little bit, which is kind of strange later, but so her dad and I were talking, and we knew Lake was in a bad place that day. We knew, like, he didn't, like Ginger said, he didn't need to be driving. He was obviously using when he left the house, and it just kind of everything came to a head, and it was like, we got to get the law involved. So I called a friend of mine who's Rankin County SO, and I just said, "Hey man, help me out here. We got to do something. What do you suggest?" And he said, "Well, I can't do anything in Hinds County, but when he comes back into Rankin County, we could, see if we can stop him or pull him over or whatever, and figure out, we have to follow the law, obviously, but, we probably can get him on something, when he comes back across the line. We need his tag number." And I didn't know his tag number. So basically the plan was, we've got to go find him and get his tag number. That way, when he does come back into Rankin County, they can identify him.
Right.
And so we were like, we just don't have any idea where he is. He would turn his Life 360 off, as a lot of these kids do. Like, "Oh, I don't want them to know where I'm at right now," so he just cut it off.
Yeah. Could you be more obvious that you're up to no good?
Yeah. And so when he was off Life 360, we were like, "Oh gosh, what's about to happen?" And so I think somehow we figured out.
we knew who he was with, another person, and we were able to locate them on First Snap Map.
Okay.
Who he was with,
Right.
So we knew who he was with.
where he was at that point, which was a bad part of town in Jackson.
Yeah. and so Ginger and her mom are there, obviously, in the conversation, and they're kind of like, "Well, y'all need to hurry and go get him. Like, go find the tag number where we can get this process
something.
moving. Like, go."
Right.
And so it's weird that the details that happened during that day. So we decided to go, and again, I remember them just kind of being like, "Hey, y'all need to kind of hurry up. Like, y'all need to go." And then so we're backing out of the driveway, and I was like, "Hey, let me grab my sunglasses." And I just again, they were just like, "Don't worry about your sunglasses. Go, go." And then so my parents live in the same subdivision as her parents, and we're going out of the subdivision, and I said, if we are trying to sneak around and get Lake's tag number, he's going to recognize this vehicle.
Right.
So we stopped at my parents' house, and we got my mom's car, and we'll go in her car. He won't suspect that as much, So let's stop there. So we did, but all these things, getting my sunglasses, stopping and getting my mom's car and dropping his off there. The fact that I drove and Terry didn't, like, there's so many things that made us come to this intersection. We knew he was in downtown Jackson. We knew he was at a hotel. And there's a million ways to get into downtown Jackson. You can take High Street, Pearl Street, whatever. You can take a bunch of different ways. We just happened to go Pearl Street, and we come across the bridge, and we come to the stoplight, and we stop at the stoplight. And I just remember we come to a stop, and the light turns green. And so we're about to go. And this car runs the red light coming from the other direction.
This is Pearl Street and
State Street.
In State Street. Okay.
Yeah. And so we're sitting there, and this car flies through the intersection, and this dude is hanging out the window, and
Oh my God.
he's waving the car behind him to come on, like keep coming, go run the red light also, like we did. And I was like, look at this idiot, he just ran the red light, you know. And then here comes Lake's car, and his girlfriend.
So there was somebody in front of them,
yeah.
Leave some of the names out.
Okay, so
a friend.
there was
Yep.
somebody in front, kind of leading Lake's car.
The pace car.
The pace
Yeah,
car
right.
came through, yes, and then his car came through, but there was only one person in the car that we could see, and so I was like,
This is really odd.
there's Lake's car right there, and
But
so
Lake's not driving.
Right.
Lake's not driving. We didn't see Lake in the car. And there, you could tell, obviously, it's a frantic situation because they've run a red light in front of us. They're following somebody. We're like, what in the world is going on? So obviously, we get in behind them, and we're going down State Street. And really, I think Mr. Terry and we're kind of going like, man, something's going on. Something's wrong. And I forget which. I don't know if it was him or me. So somehow we figured it. We're like, oh crap! Like it hit us. We're like,
That's
Lake's
Lake.
He's overdosed.
Right.
They're headed to the hospital. That's what's going on here. And so we're right in behind them, and they're going towards the hospital. And then randomly, they just pull up in this parking garage. And we were like, what the heck are they doing? Like, where are they going? And this is a tough part for me. Sorry.
He's never been
It's
able to
okay.
talk about it without.
It's okay, brother. Take your time, man.
Do you want me to finish? You got it.
Sorry.
Nothing to apologize about.
We pull in behind him and go up to the car, and he's in the passenger side, and he's
Motionless.
motionless.
Blue.
He's blue. He's it's terrible. The worst thing I've ever seen in my life. And so,
You kick into high gear.
yeah, I pull the driver out of the car and just jump in the car, and I've got to get him to the emergency room. So I remember, this is how this kind of ties back into COVID. I probably wouldn't have known where to turn into the emergency room area. And I know that's a small detail.
But
it's
those
a big
seconds
deal.
could have made a big
Yes.
difference.
Yeah. And so I just think I knew where to go because that's where she dropped me off when she took me in when I had COVID. And so
You went to Baptist?
Baptist, yeah. And so I just remember going in there. I drove in the emergency area there, and I was just screaming for help. Help me. I got him out of the car, threw him on my shoulder. I ran inside, and they immediately knew
Narcan.
overdose. There was people, and they literally just directed me like where to take him, and I just had him on my shoulder, running through the hospital, and they showed me where this bed was, and I laid him down, and they rolled him into a room, and not breathing, nothing. Like he was
dead.
completely lifeless.
And that just has to
And
just tear you to pieces.
it was tough. That's the hardest thing I've ever experienced seeing in my whole entire life. Horrible. And they went to work. Like 10 people immediately. Just everybody's just
I think by the time I got there, the doctor looked at me and said, his exact words were, "Within seconds, you would have lost your boy." So that's why those seconds did matter.
Yeah.
Everything leading to that day, like
that was a long.
Did we
way
ever
around.
figure out why they pulled into the parking garage?
they
were
just
lost.
didn't know.
They
They
were
didn't
lost.
know where
Oh,
they
they
knew they were.
shoot.
Yeah,
They
they
were
knew they
lost.
were at the hospital, but that they were on the wrong side of the.
Oh,
the emergency room's on the
man.
other side.
If you go down State Street, there looks like there's like 30 entrances to the hospital.
Right.
It's confusing.
It's-
to
Yeah,
me.
there's the big building on the left and the
Yeah.
right, and
It's very confusing. And being totally honest here, I might not have known exactly where to go, but we were just there like a week before because she had dropped me off there. I don't think those are coincidences.
No,
I
I
think
don't think
that's 100% like
That's God right there.
when
Absolutely.
when like the guys that were, they didn't even know the guys, by the way. They just happened to be at the hotel where they were, and they said, "We need help. Can you help us?" And those guys were just trying to get them to the hospital. And
Right.
they just happened to pull into the wrong place. And so we're in this parking garage area, and they were all just kind of like scratching their head. They were like, I don't know, like, where's the hospital? And then, of course, when we pulled in from behind, and it was kind of like, get out of the way. Like, you're not at the hospital,
Right,
you
right,
know?
right.
And so that's kind of where, we, I grabbed the car and took off. And then, so yeah, and then when we were in the hospital,
I mean, he had
they-
so much like fentanyl in his system. Like he had to be put in overnight in a drip of Narcan. I mean, it was
Wow.
yes,
yeah, they hit him
and-
with some Narcan, and he came to.
They were able to get vitals.
yes,
Yeah, but it wears off.
Yeah.
If you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it did. They gave him, I know, 2 different doses of Narcan in the ER, and it was wearing off enough to where they said, "Hey, we really need to put him in overnight and do it on like a drip," and that was apparently that's directly related to how much you have in your system or something.
That's my understanding of it. Yeah.
And so,
Because somebody can overdose and you can administer Narcan and it can appear to work, and then I just think of it as if the opiate overpowers the Narcan, then you have to administer more Narcan. So yeah,
and they did that a couple times, and then they did like I said, the overnight. I think it was like an ICU type situation where they had him in a drip, and so I mean, that was a wild. There's no chance. There's no coincidence in that for me. It took me so long to get my sunglasses and stop and get a car and, hit the right number of traffic lights. And I think God literally put us right there because 30 seconds before we miss them. 30 seconds after,
10
we miss
seconds.
'em. 10 seconds.
Like
Yes,
5 seconds, you would have.
Yes.
It would have been a completely
right.
different story.
Different
and
story, yes.
You guys would not be
100%.
here talking about how
That's
he
right.
survived.
100%. And so maybe 10 seconds later, and they're in a parking garage, and he's, he doesn't make it.
Right.
but he makes all things work together for you, the
Yeah.
good,
that's right.
even the bad things.
Absolutely.
As much as I hate it, it has been a benefit to me to realize that, my story, my life, my recovery is kind of a patchwork quilt, a brick wall of sorts. And each piece is a component that can be of some benefit to somebody else.
Right.
And I mean, my heart goes out to y'all, but I tip my hat to you for having the guts, the willingness to come on here and talk about this, because there are other parents that are suffering with the same thing.
Right. And this is not easy for you guys to do. I know you got emotional about this, and I just, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for being vulnerable and being honest, and you are helping someone else right now. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
And this is going to be shared with folks. My parents are heavily involved in Families Anonymous in Dallas, and they will be sharing this with them, and they are. When I say heavily involved, I mean heavily involved.
Awesome. That's great.
It's their support group. It's so this is going to go much further than anything on the internet or what's happening actually today. I can guarantee you of that. So, again, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you enough for coming back on, or coming on rather. I'm sorry, and sharing this, because I know it's not difficult, but this is something that needs to be shared. And
Yeah, y'all are the first people from the other side that we've had.
Okay.
And
Well, even after that, though, I mean, I know we've run out of time.
no,
No,
we're
we're
not.
good, we're
There's
good.
no
But
timer.
I just,
we're good.
the next couple months or so is so important too, just because
Let's touch on this.
obviously he wasn't wanting to go to treatment, right? Like he had, I want an attorney. I'm not going. Well, when he overdosed, obviously in case
Isn't it astonishing
how
the
things can
lies?
switch, yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
And in the face of an insurmountable amount of evidence to the contrary, you think you still don't need help.
Right.
Yeah. But he knew after that, like, oh, I'm getting court
The jig's up,
ordered.
yeah.
Like it's there's no getting out of
The
it.
heat's on now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we court ordered him, and Alex Cole was nice enough to actually drive him. He went to a detox facility in Warrior, Alabama, Bradford, where later we found out he used there. But after his 30-day detox, he went to the Reprieve in Opelika, near Auburn, Alabama. That's where he went. And he was doing really good there. We were actually going with him, driving up on Sundays or the weekends. We could take him to church. For 4 to 6 weeks, he was doing really good. And out of the blue, one day, I get that dreaded phone call that, hey, your son's been using. He's got to go somewhere. And of course, my heart is just, I'm starting to feel
Again.
like, oh my
Defeated.
gosh, how, what in the world? So, I'm asking them, where can we put him? Where do we go? And they suggested Twin Lakes Recovery in Monroe, Georgia. Again, it was just a 30-day play. They were like, this is just a 30-day place, but just put him here until you can find where you want him to go for the year that you've court ordered him. So he's there, and again, I feel like he's getting it together. He's telling me all the right things. His therapist there is telling me all the right things. And I remember it was getting late at night. I had the baby in the bathtub upstairs, and he was downstairs. But I get a phone call, and it's Twin Lakes Recovery, and it's probably 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock at night, which is
Does your
11
heart just
o'clock. It's 11 o'clock that time.
Right.
And yes, my heart completely sunk.
Yeah.
And she tells me the same thing. Hey, your son and 2 other boys just got caught using. You're going to have to come get him. They're getting kicked out, basically. Well, the other 2 guys were locals. They were able to Uber home. I'm like, hey, we're 6.5 hours away. Please
Right.
just keep him there until he can get here, And I remember, like, can I speak to him? And, like, got on the phone, and I'm bawling, like, baby, I'm just like, how again did you do this? And he's like, I know, Mom, I know, but I'm just not strong enough. And the guys had it was in my face. I'm just not strong enough. And anyway, by this point, he comes up and sees me, and he jumps in the car, and he's headed out. So,
Well, he got kicked out,
yeah,
right?
well, they're telling me that he can stay until Chris gets there to get him. So that's why Chris jumps in the car, and he's headed to Georgia. He's going to drive all night to go get him. Well,
But didn't they
yeah.
say no because they wouldn't give him a cigarette? Or
So
Yeah.
she calls me back about 30 minutes later. So now we're looking at 11:30 at night, his time, where he's at, 10:30 our time. She says, you have one stubborn little boy. He just left. He just walked down the street, and it's this place in the middle of nowhere. And he doesn't have a phone. He has no money. He has nothing. And I panic. I absolutely am in panic mode. Because I had talked to him on the phone, and he's high on the phone. He's not good. I was mad at them. How could you even let him leave? He's not well. But I just instantly started Googling, the sheriff department in Monroe. The only thing I knew to do was to call the law. Like, hey, there's a boy that doesn't need to be walking down the street somewhere in your area. Please go find them. And they were so nice to help us. And they're like, sure, I will send out dispatch. We'll go look for your son. And it wasn't long. It seemed like an eternity for me. I just remember, please God, find him. But about 30 minutes goes by. They call, hey, we found him. He was sitting up at a closed gas station against the wall. And they said, he appears to be fine. He's not high. We can take him in, but if he chooses to leave, we can't hold him. But I got Lake on the phone, and Lake said, yeah, I'll wait for Dad to get me. And he's in Meridian, getting close to Meridian at this point. And I had picked up the phone to Google treatment centers near Monroe, Georgia. But just because I didn't want Lake to come back home. He didn't need to come back home.
Right.
I was hoping Chris could just take him to the next place. We'd try again. And I found this place on the internet called Good Landing Recovery. It was about 15 minutes from where Lake was. And it's midnight at this time. I'm like, there's no way anybody will answer the phone at midnight. But I did. I just called. And Daniel was his name. He answered the phone. And he was so nice and so helpful. And it's just absolutely another way of how God has been in every detail on Lake's behalf, on our behalf. But he said, yes, we'll go pick him up at the sheriff's department. We'll pick him up. And so I'm like, are you serious? And then I started thinking, this is too good to be true. How do I know you're legit? Like I started kind of panicking. Like, are you a good place? Are you safe? And he's like, yes, we're good. And so Lake gets picked up. A guy named Jamisio had picked him up, and Jamisio called Chris and said, hey, I got your boy, and we're gonna take care of him. And Lake talked to Chris on the phone, said, I'm good, Dad, I'm fine. They just let me take a hot shower and I could sleep here. And anyway, ever since it was at that place, which he gets a whole lot of Jesus there. Trey Lewis is the owner. He's from actually Clarksdale, Mississippi, kind of crazy too. But he holds Recovery Church every Friday night, and he just has the most amazing way of getting on these guys' level and just preaching the word. And it was kind of what I had longed for Lake, just to hear. And because again, he's running from God. I mean, he was saved when he was 9, so I know that he is a Christian, but he's running from God. And then this place has worked for him. I mean, it is just, Lake has done so well here. And he, celebrated a year sober in September. After that, he started on staff there. He's working and he loves it. I mean, he absolutely loves it. And I've said for so long how I just felt like his purpose, even before the addiction, I just felt like his purpose was to help people. Like he like Chris said, he's always just been a giver. I mean, he had a basketball coach when he was like 12 years old that had a hole in his shoe. And I can remember him coming home saying, can we go buy Coach so-and-so shoes? Like at 12 years old, and he did. We went that night and bought the Coach new Nike high tops because he wanted to do that. And that was the kid that we knew Lake to be. And now that he's working on staff and just has the opportunity to be doing this, and he feels important and he's loving it.
Well,
and
he is.
And he
it's
is.
Not a feeling.
Yes,
he is.
He is. He is. Yes.
If I could say two things about this, again, circling back to exactly what she just said, Lake's always been a giver and always, he's just a loving kid, always wants to help people.
A good heart.
And
yes.
all of the garbage that we dealt with, all of the lies, the manipulation, the overdosing, I tracked him on Life 360 and went to some of the deepest, darkest crack houses you've ever seen, just to make sure he wasn't there, or see, why is he down here? Why is he doing this? All those little pieces, now looking back, we say we wouldn't trade any of that, because this was God's, literally he wrote this story for Lake. And if he didn't have all of these things happen, he wouldn't be where he is right now. And he said this when he was on the podcast with you guys. He said the night he got kicked out of Twin Lakes, he had some heroin. And it's funny because all he wanted was a cigarette, and he was stayed there. But if he would have gotten that cigarette, he wouldn't have stayed there. Right. He's got heroin because I think he said, he had it hidden on him.
Yeah, they were going to let him sleep, and he was going to.
Yeah.
Yep.
But like all the pieces of the pie, they come together, and you see that in the end, he ended up being where he needed to be. He was kicked out of these other places, but he wasn't ready. But the point of he made a decision that night. He said, "I'm done. I'm it." And I told a friend of mine this week. That decision was not only helping Lake to recover. Obviously, it was. It was his switch that he finally flipped, and he said, I'm done with this lifestyle. Not doing this anymore. But that decision has also helped already so many other people, because friends have reached out to us, or reached out to Ginger, or reached out to Lake and said, I need help. And he's already been instrumental in helping so many other people. So that one decision for him to say, this is it, has already exponentially started helping so many others. And we'll continue to do so. And we'll continue to do so. And so I think that's, for us, the positive at the end of the day is that, it's been a rough ride, but he's in the place where he ought to be right now. And
it's funny too, because one of his roles is like a house manager, and he's in charge of the guys of his apartment. And we give a lot of Lake's house manager, David Hobbs is his name. We call him Hobbs, but Hobbs was, it's crazy. Out of all the house managers, Lake got put with him, and he was the exact person Lake needed to live with, because he was so good to Lake. And he's this big guy, buff guy, and I think it was enough fear for that, to kind of keep Lake walking that straight line. But at the same time, they're buddies. He's just he texts us all three in a group text for Merry Christmas on Christmas Day. He's a great guy, and it's funny now seeing Lake be that house manager, kind of doing the same thing, and hopefully being the same way Hobbs was to Lake,
helping a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Right.
And I will say, like, this doesn't take away any of my worry. Like, it's still there. Obviously, he's a little over a year in. He's doing amazing. But, sometimes I will let the enemy, freak me out and put those thoughts in my head. But, he's doing so good. And I just pray that he can keep staying this path,
It sounds like he has every level of insurance in place that needs to be in place. And as long as he continues on this path with the plan of action that he's been doing up to this point, and doesn't stop doing the things that got him sober in the first place,
right,
then there's no stopping this kid.
That's
there's
right.
just no stopping.
Sky's the limit, for sure.
Absolutely. So I want to say this, because there are people listening today, and people that will listen to this in the future, that are just at their wits' end. They have tried everything, they've done everything, their loved one has failed and failed and failed and failed. What would you tell that family member or that family that they've done everything, and their loved one is still either out on the streets or whatever? What advice would you give to those individuals?
Like I said, I think just there is hope. Obviously we're huge in our faith and try to give God every bit of the glory of Lake's story. But I think just
don't give up.
Don't give up. There are so many people that would say you're going to have to dissociate yourself from your child. And there are people, I know the Al-Anon stuff, that's kind of what and people would tell me to get in those things, and I needed that. And I had friends that had walked in that, and they would tell me. But for me, I kind of told, I laid it out there as, I'm not going to let you go on the streets. I'd rather you be in jail. So you can either get it right in treatment. I'll let you live in treatment forever, even if it's the ones that are free and, like we talked about, or you can live in jail. That was kind of that's where as a mom I was at. And I feel like to this day I still am like that. I will fight for him till the day I die. There's no question.
I would answer that by saying, you can love somebody to death.
Sure.
And so there's a level of enabling that you can provide sometimes that is not good for them. And so sometimes, the old cliche, tough love, sometimes you have to do that.
Right.
And so that is a really fine line to teeter back and forth on. And that's probably the hardest thing, is to figure out, do I give them tough love, or do I, kick them to the curb?
Look, I told Blake, I was like, it's great now, but eventually they're not going to answer your phone call anymore.
And I heard that. You said that.
And then that sounds awful.
No, but I know it's true. I know that there's so many people. I have friends that had to do this. I know. And I guess at that point, if it kept on, I was getting so angry and mad at him. How could you do this again? You've already almost died within seconds. how are you still, and
that says a lot, though, for the addiction side of things. That shows you just how strong
exactly.
it is.
Right.
You OD'd. They had the paddles in the air. They were about to try to bring you back to life, and you're over here using again. When's it going to click?
It's astonishing. It really is. Even for me,
you died because of this, and you're right back there. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so that's tough to see.
But I feel my tough love would be that, though. You're either going to live in treatments or you're going to live in jail. It was just that simple for me. Chris even said, at times, Ginger, you have impressed me. You're getting, I did get strong, and, whereas I was so weak for so long. I was like strong. I'm like, you're not gonna continue to talk to me this way. You're not, gonna manipulate me. But
Well,
I guess for other parents, just
for other parents, I mean, and I think Ginger and I would offer this up. If somebody is going through this with their child right now, and they want to talk to us, or just have a shoulder to, somebody who's walked through this, reach out to us, because I think that's important to have that support. We had that maybe internally with our families. We could talk to our family. We could pray with our family. We could brainstorm with our families and say, what do you think we should do? Obviously, financially, her parents have helped exponentially. I mean, like just we wouldn't be able to do it without them. And so find some support, whether it's somebody who's been there. Obviously don't give up hope, and pray like crazy, because I think that, if you raise them up right, they'll come back to their roots. And I think, it's hard to tell when they're going to flip the switch and say enough's enough. Like, it may be a year, it may be 10 years, but like, don't give up on them, because there's definitely hope out there. God can work in the details, just like he did in Lake's life, and write a crazy story to where now he's helping a lot of those people. And the last thing I would say is the length of treatment, I think, is really, really important. We tried the 30-day, we tried the 60-day, we tried the 90-day. The longer somebody can be getting help, can be, side by side, sharing their story, or in the right place. A year is, I would
minimum.
Say, at minimum, I would
Right.
say a year. And that's just based on our experience with Lake.
No, I think you're right on that. That's
It's
there's evidence to support that.
yeah, and so that would be my kind of my for parents out there going through it, or walking through it right now.
I'd also like to throw in there, go into treatment away from what I call your epicenter of poor choices.
Yeah.
Get out of
Yeah,
here.
That's right.
You know?
I was living in Dallas and flew out to Brandon, Mississippi. So
Yeah.
Okay.
I've told
Yeah.
Lake multiple times, and because I've heard this from other recovering addicts or treatment centers, you got to turn the page on everything that was your lifestyle when you were in that situation, or when you were using. You got to get
Right.
rid of all of it and start fresh and new. And so I don't think it was a coincidence that he was going Alabama and then he got to Georgia. And I mean, we were going to end up in the ocean if we had to. Like he was getting a little further away from home, a little further
Maine,
away
here we
from-
come. I've always
Yeah.
liked lobsters
Yeah.
as well.
Right.
Head to Maine, wherever, and
And
whatever we had to
the
do.
funny thing is Good Landing Recovery, after the days settled in and I was able to talk to one of the head guys there, Charlie Campbell, I had no idea that this isn't an inpatient facility. It's an outpatient facility. They live in apartments. And I remember freaking out.
Right.
Like, oh my gosh, he's not in I had no idea. Although it was faith-based and I love that, but you're not an inpatient. Like, he needs structure. And
We
I
need
just,
some handcuffs.
Yes, and I just remember asking
These doors need to lock.
Absolutely. And I just remember asking Charlie, like, okay, you know how sick my son is. If this was your son, would you think Good Landing would be the place for him? And he said, Ginger, yes. He said, because your son still used in inpatient facilities. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it. But what we offer here, just bringing God
Is a
in
solution.
the picture, he said, we do it differently. And I mean, I would have probably pulled him out somewhere, at that point, and until Charlie made it so clear, like, oh my gosh, you're right. He was using in 3 different inpatient facilities. So yes, because this is faith-based and he's getting a whole lot of Jesus, we're going to try this. And praise the Lord, he is doing amazing and is now on staff there. So we are proud
awesome.
parents.
absolutely, sure, absolutely. Well, Mr. Hassan, do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss?
Is there anything else y'all want to talk about?
I think we've kept y'all so long.
No, you're fine. You're
Sorry.
fine.
No, this is great.
Yeah. This is
Well, I
lovely.
will say, as far as Recovery Lab goes, I appreciate y'all having us on, because it is good for even parents who've on the timeline that we're on right now. It's good to talk about it, and so I appreciate this platform where Lake could come on, or other people have come on. We've watched other episodes, at least 17 of them we've watched. And so, you know, thank y'all for having us.
Yeah,
and
what you're doing is
and what you're
awesome.
doing, it's amazing. I think that's another just part of the recovery. It takes a village.
It takes
And
a
so
village.
this is a huge help to, I think, recovering parents and addicts, and so this is awesome. Appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, guys. All right.
And yours is sweaty.
Y'all made it. You
Made
made it.
it.
Okay.
Hope we didn't get a little too long-winded. Sorry if we did. It's just
No, it's
so many
perfect.
details.
You ready for this? You ready for this?
Let's hear these numbers.
So, 604 people watched the podcast on TikTok.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Wow.
Are a little more big time than I thought.
It's probably fun to watch that for y'all each time, see the numbers going up. That
It
that
is.
shows
It
you're
is.
getting-
It's-
I have a personal obsession with learning about how social media manipulates you, and I could speak about that for another podcast episode. But I have seen and lived in my own life how so it is proven. I think it's universally accepted that social media, especially Instagram, is worse for women, and it has a more deleterious impact on young girls, and it is owing to this dopamine response that you get from seeing likes on your posts and your videos.
Yeah.
And I have lived this, so I can't remember. I think it was the very first Facebook post that I made where I said, all right, everybody, I'm going to try this podcast. And I had like 300 and something people, like it or comment. And I mean, I was like, yeah, I am awesome. I felt this sense of validation. And then I immediately thought, that's